Hello, we are broadcasted from in the basement at an undisclosed location.
Words, they are our medium of communication. They are the vehicle in which knowledge is passed on. There is no history without words, no science, no sharing of thoughts, no way to emote and to explain those emotions. There are no books, no songs, no poems, no oral tradition that sustained mankind since his inception. Words are what made us the knowing creature. A human person is a living being that contains a real and existent power to direct its own development toward fulfillment. That direction is at the mercy of words. The words told to them by their parents, by their family, and by their community. Words are seldom questioned. No one asks where they came from. Beyond a few linguistically inclined peoples, there are few that care to wonder, why do we call this that, or that this? Was this always called that? Was that always called this? Has it changed over time? Did we lose its original meaning? And if we did, what does that mean? Words are a double-edged sword. They can be taken in more than one way, and depending on how they land, they could harm or help. Words are the roads to truth and falsehood, and so there has always been an interest in controlling them. How could one control syllables, small sounds strung together like pearls in a necklace, to form the words that we use without thought, without consideration? Where did they come from? What do they mean? Without a grasp of language, people are very vulnerable and easy to manipulate. Without a curious mind searching for answers, people are easily led astray. And the least forceful form of control is through sophistry. Look into this word and learn it. It will fortify you.
Can you give a practical example of what you mean, K.M. Hemmans?
For instance, think of the case of Uncle Tom.
Careful, K.M. Hemmans. This is a touchy subject.
Thank you for the warning, narrator. The term Uncle Tom is used as a derogatory epithet for an excessively subservient person, particularly when that person perceives their own lower class status based on their race. This derogatory term is thrown at anyone within the black community that breaches the codes of that community. It is reserved for those who are perceived to be siding with the ruling class against the underclass, the black community. Now this is difficult. I want you, my precious audience, not to dwell on whether there is a ruling class and whether blacks are the underclass. That is not important here. All that matters is the two words, Uncle Tom. Do you understand? Have you cleared your mind? Do it. Clear it. Excellent. Uncle Tom is a word that is thrown with shame and stigma at any who break the code in the black community. It is thought to originate from a slave who was a bootlicker of his master's boots on his plantation. He sold out his fellow slaves every chance he could and was an ally of his slave master against his own people. Now, this is powerful words. Those who use the term Uncle Tom as a weapon and a scarlet letter in their fight for equality are in reality deceived. This is a clear-cut case of sophistry, of using words to deceive. Uncle Tom was the title character of Harriet Elizabeth Beecher Stowe's novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin. This character, Uncle Tom, was seen by many readers as a groundbreaking humanistic portrayal of a slave, one who uses non-resistance and gives his life to protect others who have escaped from slavery. Yes, he risked his life to save slaves. This character was inverted. His decency changed to slothness and treachery. He was completely destroyed and replaced with something he never was. Now people that use Uncle Tom as a derogatory do so without knowing they're insulting someone who in all probability they would wish to be like. In matter of generations, the term Uncle Tom was completely turned upside down. I will not elaborate more, but I do suggest you look at Uncle Tom's Cabin. Read it. It won't kill you. I promise.
Interesting, K.M. Hemmans. Could you give us another example?
Yes. In the 1930s, in the Appalachian Mountains, where rural whites now live in an opioid crisis, the largest, deadliest drug crisis to ever hit the world, and are dying before their parents did for the first time. Before this tragedy, the people of the 30s in that region worked in coal mines. They worked, and they worked long and hard. They worked themselves to death, with no job security and workplace security and health to protect them, where even children worked alongside their families. These people, most long dead, decided to form a union. As you can imagine, in the 1930s, they were immediately labeled communists and beaten, shot, and killed openly. A group amongst them, fed up with their children dying, decided to put their life on the line and strike. They let it be known they were not backing down. They would die for their dignity, and to show that they were not afraid of the consequences and to inspire bravery in their co-workers to do the same, they decided to show themselves, to not hide. They wore red bandanas around their necks, or cloths, or some red linen, and wore it in pride in their strikes. They were viciously beaten by the police and organized crime and the government. They were called many names, but one name stuck: rednecks. Rednecks? What comes to mind when you think of rednecks? Lazy, shiftless, inbred, and racists. You had a bad taste in your mouth when you say redneck, just as the other side does when they say Uncle Tom. Remember, you are not so different. Anytime you try to rise up and help yourselves, you will be dehumanized. And if you're not careful, you will join in your own dehumanization and help your enemies malign you. You see, history is written by winners, and words are written by the winners.